All right, so today we're going to be talking about law of sines, okay? We're starting Unit 3. Unit 3 is all about solving for non-right triangles, okay? And so we're going to talk about, given certain types of triangles, how to solve for the remaining unknown parts, okay? And so really, you know, if I had more time, I'd go over kind of how this is derived, but it's pretty interesting, you know? We're taking this non-right triangle and we're creating two right triangles based on the altitude here, and that's helping us derive our formula, okay? And so our formula for law of sines looks something like this. You can write it as a, little a over sine A, which what the letters mean is that the little a stands for the side length, the big A stands for the angle side. And so you're going to do little a over big A, little b over big B, little c over big C, right? We're creating ratios. And when we set two ratios equal to each other, we call that a proportion, all right? And so the goal is that because of those two right triangles up there, we can write it so that all three of these ratios are equal to each other. Or it can be written like this, where it's sine of big A over little a, sine of big B over little b, sine of big C over little c, okay? And I'll be honest with you, I use this version of it more, but again, it doesn't really matter, okay? It doesn't really matter how you go about that, okay? So let's go ahead here now and let's look at this first question. It says solve triangle ABC, round all answers to the nearest tenth. So we were given, so how do we know when to use law of sines? Well, we know to use law of sines when we're given two angles and one side length. Okay, and you're going to see this a lot. LOS means law of sines, okay? So what this is asking me to do, guys, is it is asking me to solve for this triangle, okay, based on what information is given to me, okay? And so the first thing I always do is I always solve for the missing angle. And the reason why is because I've got two out of the three angles of a triangle. And we know that a triangle adds up to 180 degrees. So all we're going to do is we're going to take 180 minus the two angles. So 129, or not 129, I'm sorry, 112 and 29. Okay, and when we do that, we end up finding out that angle C, and I'm using my calculator here, 180 minus 112 minus 29. And when we do that, we find out we've got 39 degrees. Okay? So there's that first one of the three unknown parts solved for. Angle's always going to be the easiest with this. Okay? Now, the next time it doesn't matter, we got to solve for little b or little c. Now, again, we are solving for a non-right triangle. Okay? So everything I taught you in Unit 1 for the most part, okay, you're not going to use. Okay? So this is all new. All right? So I'm just going to solve for little b first. It doesn't matter. Okay? Now, to set up law of sines, I must have one ratio totally complete. So that means I must have the big A part, which is the angle, and the little letter part, which is the side. Okay? And in this case, I have big A and little a. So I'm going to write it like this. So I'm going to say sine of big A, or 29 degrees, okay, because angle A is equal to 29 degrees, over little a, which we know is equal to 22, equals, now I'm solving for b, little b. So that means I must have to put then sine of big B, which we have, 112 degrees, over little b. Okay? And so now once you have that ratio set up, you can go ahead and you can cross multiply. So when I cross multiply, I'm going to do b times sine of 29 degrees. So I'm going to get b times sine of 29 degrees equals 22 times sine of 112 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide by sine of 29 degrees. Divide by sine of 29 degrees because I'm isolating b, okay? And now this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to plug it in my calculator. Now, guys, please make sure mode is in degrees, this whole unit. This whole unit, we will not be using radians whatsoever. Okay, so I second clear, I go fraction button, okay, fraction button, and I'm going 22 sine 112, close parentheses, all over sine 29. I hit enter, and there we go. It says round to the tenths. Okay, and so when I round to the tenths, then that's going to be now 42.1. Okay. All right, and then little c. Okay, little c. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to, and it doesn't matter now because now you actually have two ratios, right? You know little b. So technically you can actually find, you could use big B over little b if you wanted to. I try to avoid decimals, so I'm going to keep it with a. So to set this up, I'm going to say sine of big A, which is 29 degrees, over little a, which is 22, equals, now we're doing c. So since we're doing c, I need sine of big C, which we found at the beginning here, to be sine of 39 degrees all over little c. Okay, by setting up this into a proportion here, we now can go ahead and solve for c. That's our law of sines part. So cross multiply there, and you're going to get this. You're going to get c times sine of 29 degrees equals 22 times sine of 39 degrees. We're going to go ahead and divide by sine of 29 degrees because we're trying to isolate the c. And so again, I'm going to plug that into my calculator here. So clear this, fraction button. 22 sine 39, close parentheses, all over sine of 29. Hit enter. And there you go. So when we round to the hundredths place, we're going to end up getting 28.6. Okay? All right, now, I would normally continue on with the back here, okay? But these two problems are the exact same as number one. You're given two angles and a side, okay? So I will post the key for this, okay? But I'm not going to finish wasting your time. Well, it's not a waste of time, sorry. I'm not going to go over these two because I just covered how to solve it in that first problem there, and that's what you should refer to if you're not sure about these. Okay? This last question here, just go ahead and mark it out. That is not the type of word problems we are going to be looking at. That's my bad. I made that decision this morning, okay, about taking it off before school, right before school started. So do not worry about that question whatsoever. When we do word problems next Wednesday, this will not be a type. Okay? All right. Well, that is it for law of sines. Okay? Look forward to me uploading that video, and I will be uploading law of cosines shortly as well here. All right? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.